Assalamu alaikum viewers, welcome to the 9th lecture of International Marketing subject. In our previous lecture, we started to discuss a very important area, the international marketing information requirements. Now, seeking information is very critical and very crucial for making correct decisions in international marketing perspective. The business environment over time and in present time has become very, very complex. It is also changing now very fast in many industries. And competition is getting very intense also. And at the same time, the stakes are going high and high. To create new products has become a very, very expensive proposition. A simple product like one design of mobile phone may require hundreds of millions of dollars of research and development and investment into its production. More sums of money are also required for distribution and brand building. So, a lot is at stake. And if managers are unable to make correct decisions, then the losses can be enormous. So, it's absolutely important, it's very critical that managers at every stage of their business are able to make correct decisions better than the competition can do. And it has now become an essential competitive strength for firms or a competitive weakness for firms, their ability to make correct decisions. And in modern times, intuition alone is not enough. Managers require information in a wide variety of areas and perspectives to make correct decisions. And managers are making decisions in a situation of bounded rationality, which brings in their intuition, but also they need information that is current, that is relevant, and that is valid and better than competition. And of course, even if they have their good intuition and they have good information, there would still be some aspect of speculation or some unknowns. So for correct decision making, it is essential that managers are able to expand their capability to gather wide spectrum of information. But then, as the environment is nowadays changing very, very fast, it is important for senior management to make decisions like where they have to take their business and why they have to take their business in that direction, and less important how they have to take their business in a chosen direction. So that requires real-time, continuous information. Again, in old days, well, research was mostly done. Research is done only on specific topics, specific issues, specific problems. And once problems are specified, these problems then define the information requirements, and research is conducted to seek that information to answer the issue or the problem. But in today's time, that has become a more redundant exercise. Now, information is needed to define and describe the problems. And more of the time, managers are making errors, not that they are incapable of making good decisions, but because they are unable to understand the problems properly and accurately. Hence, the emphasis in today's management is more towards describing and defining and understanding problems in a better way. So information is required as a first step, even to describe and define the problems properly. The ability of the firm or the requirement of for firm to succeed is critically dependent on its ability to seek information, to analyze information, and to use that information if it has to succeed in international markets. And to be able to get that information in international markets, the proposition gets even more complex. because information seeking is not an easy exercise. Certain informations are restricted or only available in certain forums, while other information can be very personal and people can be very reluctant to divulge that information. So very sophisticated capabilities and techniques and tools are required, and a huge investment is required from firms to be able to comprehend, to be able to gather appropriate required information. So it has become a serious competence, an essential strategic competence required for firms to succeed in today's world. We also discussed in our previous lecture briefly many areas in which organizations must seek information to be able to make international marketing decisions. Organizations need information in areas of marketing mix in order to make decisions regarding products, their pricing, their distribution, promotion and sales. Marketers also need information about their competitors, competitor strategies, competitor businesses, competitor firms, about the market share. The marketers also need information about foreign exchange, currency rates, and how these currency rates and exchange rates would fluctuate, and what aspects and what variables and what parameters affect these exchange rates. Marketers also need information about market potential of their products in order to make correct decisions and assessments. They also need perspective information about laws, rules, regulations, and regulatory environments of various markets. Marketers also need information about resources, human resources, financial resources, technological resources. In order to successfully conduct business in international market, marketers also need information about socio-cultural aspects of various markets, political aspects of various markets. So there is a long list of important areas in which marketers need information in order to make correct marketing decisions. So in today's lecture, we are going to identify some of these areas which are very critical, and we are going to see more in detail what sort of information that marketers need in order to make correct marketing decisions in these areas. One of the more critical areas for seeking information, for information requirements, is competition. The free market environment also brings in competition, and there is more competition when a firm starts to operate at international level. It becomes more complex vis-a-vis competition when firm is operating in world markets, because in domestic markets things are much more visible, much more comprehensible. The firm is there, the competitors are there, and it is easy for a firm to identify, to visualize, to know the competitors. But once the firm is operating in international markets, then competition can come from any country of the world. We can take example of telecommunications. The telecommunication markets and fortunes in this market has been changing very rapidly in the last 10 years or so. In the beginning of 90s, this was the analog technology which was really the dominant technology around the world. Hence, the systems and the mobile phones and other equipment in telecommunications were largely analog technology based. And United States had the superiority in that technology. And the multinationals or international firms which were successful around the globe in such technological products were mostly American firms. Then by reaching mid-90s, digital technologies started to overtake the analog technology because it started to prove to be cheaper and more superior in terms of communication, in terms of quality of communication, and of course in terms of cost of communication, and also the features it could provide. As digital technology emerged in mid-90s as the dominant technology in telecommunication, the firms which had superiority in that technology were not American firms, but mostly from Scandinavian countries. That was because in Scandinavian countries like Finland, the area is very large, the countries are very developed, and the populations are small, very, very small. So the populations are very scattered and very thinly scattered. So it was not economical for these countries to provide efficient telecommunication systems through analog technologies, because you require cables to be laid. And it was not economical to lay cable for small population living far away from each other. So digital technology was the most economical and efficient way to communicate. And these nations had mastered their competence, and their firms had mastered competence in digital technologies. So as soon as digital technology started to overtake analog technology in terms of its superiority and quality and costs, suddenly the fortunes changed. The competitors from Scandinavian countries, from Sweden, from Finland, and from these countries, they came and they dominated the world market very, very quickly. So fortunes can change. And once again, we are now seeing 10 years later, in middle of this decade, that telecommunication firms from China and from other countries are coming at the global scene. So when firms are operating at international level, then the competition becomes very, very complex and very uncertain, but also very critical for firms to be able to know as much as possible about the competition and the competitors, and to know not about only the foreign market in which a firm is operating, but also other world market where firm is not operating, but where the competitor is gaining strengths, where new technologies are being developed. So it's absolutely critical, especially in high technology areas where things are changing very, very rapidly, that the firms are able to comprehend a global competition, a competition at a global scale. Very important aspect about competition is the relative market shares, especially in mature markets. As markets become mature, the market shares also start to become stable. When market shares are stable and the market is mature, it becomes very expensive, very difficult to gain market share in those markets, especially in sophisticated advanced markets, where the buyers also have become brand loyal to certain brands. It may be easy for firms to gain market shares in other markets which are not as sophisticated and mature, where the consumers have still not become very much brand loyal and experienced. So really, relative market shares, given the nature of market, is a very important information that international marketers need in order to make their decisions, in order to develop their marketing programs, in order to commit their funds. And competitors really work very hard to defend their market shares. It is easy for firms to establish and succeed in less developed countries where consumers are not that sophisticated. But when we discuss mature markets and sophisticated markets where market shares have stabilized, and these market shares have stabilized because consumers have made their choices and have become loyal to certain brands, then without having a strong brand presence, it may become very difficult for marketers to gain market shares in sophisticated, developed markets. Another important aspect about competition is to know about new product moves, the new products which competition intend to introduce, and introduced with what positioning in the marketplace. Because this is a multi-dimensional competitive game going on in the world. Not only the marketer or the firm is attempting to make its own moves, the competition is also making their moves. Well, marketers may be making their assessment through perceptual maps that there are certain gaps in the marketplace. And it may take some months and some times and even some years to develop new products in order to target that gap in the marketplace. But what if competition is also targeting that gap and developing its own products? So really, perceptual maps and these techniques do give us information about gaps in the marketplace. But that information is only at that point in time. Whereas the world is temporal, is always moving. And we really need to know not only the gaps in the perceptual maps, but also we need to know what the competitors are doing. Are they also targeting those gaps with new products or not? So if at one point in time, marketers see certain gaps in the marketplace, that there is a need, there is a demand, but no firm is able to satisfy that demand, then there is a gap in the marketplace. But then it takes some time to develop products, develop marketing campaigns and propositions in order to really target that gap. But that gap is relevant only if the competitors are not targeting that gap. So for marketers, it is essential to see the two things together at the same time. The potential opportunities in the marketplace, maybe through perceptual maps, but at the same time has to see the competitor situation. That are they going to target that gap or not? Or do they have any plans to target that gap or not? So information about competitors is absolutely crucial here, especially in case the stakes are high. Information is also needed about pricing and cost structures. That's important information, especially when it's capital intensive industry. If the costs of certain firm are consistently high, then that firm will not be able to adopt a strategy of cost focus or cost leadership. It may choose to differentiate. It may choose the strategy of customer intimacy to customize products because the costs of that firm are not low. Maybe because that firm and its operation are located in areas where the salaries are high, or for any other factor that may not have access to cheaper raw materials. So what can competitors do or they cannot do is important for any marketer to make his or her own decisions. So one good way to look at it is the cost structure and the pricing of the competitor firms. So by knowing the cost structure, the marketer can really assess what are the available options to competitor, what strategies they can adopt, and what are the strategies they really cannot adopt given their cost structures. And hence marketer can then choose its own appropriate strategy to successfully compete in the markets. Another important aspect in today's world is about image and brand recognition. There is no successful product in today's world, there is no successful firm in today's world which does not have successful brands. So it's essential to succeed in today's time that the firm has to be a good marketer. Every successful firm at the same time also have a well-reputed brand. So they are good brand managers, they have good marketing skills. People are consuming brands. They're not consuming products in today's sophisticated modern world. And people have perception about brands. Some brands are synonymous for innovation. If you look into our home appliances markets like televisions, we can see a number of brands. And we have faith in certain brands that they always provide innovative products. If somebody is looking for more innovative television, state-of-the-art TV, then they lay their trust in certain brands because those brands historically have been providing most modern, state-of-the-art, most innovative televisions. But if somebody is looking for a cheaper, more reliable televisions, then we'll have faith in some other brand which have had an history and reputation of providing reliable TVs at budget prices. So the brand and its perception, its image is absolutely important. So marketer has to really assess and see what is the brand positioning of competitors and what is their brand strength in order to make one's own correct marketing decisions. Another aspect which is very critical is about the quality. And there are two sides of the quality. The ability of the firm to create quality products consistently, and what is the perception in the marketplace about the quality of that brand and that firm's products. It's easy to develop a product, a prototype, but it is very difficult and complex to establish a production system which is producing a large number of that product consistently at a reliable quality. These are two very different things and very complex things. Many firms have capability and capacity to innovate, but history has told us that there are many firms which have been very, very successful with innovations, with developing new concepts, new technologies, new products, but they were not able to commercialize them because they could not establish proper production systems or proper marketing programs. So the ability of the firm to deliver quality products consistently is again very, very important. And that is a very important strategic strength. And marketers really have to assess the capacity and capability of competitors to produce quality products and to deliver quality products, and also to assess what is the perception of customers and consumers in the marketplace about the quality and the standard vis-a-vis certain brands or competitor brands in the marketplace. Another aspect about competition that is really important is what are their favorite strategies, what strategies they have been choosing, what strategies they are good at. Because it's a strategy which really brings all the activities of the firm together, makes it consistent, makes all the activities reinforcing, and optimizes them in order to deliver the required value. So for any firm to succeed in today's environment, it's absolutely critical that that firm is able to adopt a coherent, consistent, and appropriate strategy. And if a firm is not able to adopt an appropriate strategy, will not be able to create successful products, will not be able to successfully deliver the required value. So it's not possible for a firm to adopt any strategy. No. Given the cost structures, given their situations, only certain type of strategies may be more relevant to firms. So it's easy and appropriate for firms to choose only certain type of strategies, and they would be unable to adopt other strategies very successfully given their backgrounds. So as international marketers, it's very important that we not only identify the competitors, but we also are able to identify their cost structure, the internal systems, their history, and so that we can know what type of strategies they have adopted successfully and what type of strategies they are capable to adopt and what type of strategies they will not be able to adopt. That's a very, very essential information that marketers need in order to make their own decisions about their choices of strategy, about the choices of target markets, and about the choices regarding the type of positioning they want to achieve for their products. So now we have identified another important area that international marketers really need to focus in terms of their information requirements. And that area is about the product itself. Now, product is a very, very broad term. When we say product, it's not just a technology. Say in case of a car, a product is not just the engine, or not just the wheels, or engine on the wheels with the steering. If there is an automobile which has an engine and has 4 wheels and a steering, well, it can move. We can drive it, but nobody will be willing to buy it as a car. So car is a different product than the technology itself. Will there somebody buy a car without 4 doors or car with the box shape? No, no, no. People don't have that concept. So the product is a concept. How it is going to perform and how it is going to look, how it is going to feel, and how other people are going to react and respond to that type of product. All is part and parcel of the definition of a product. So in today's time, a car is a complete product when not only it has the essential technologies, that is engine, ignition, wheels, steering, and other technological aspects that are essential for a car. But on top of it, it should also have a nice body. It must look like a car, must be comfortable, well-designed interior. Well, then it's still not good enough. What if the car does not have a name or a brand? Who will buy it? Well, hardly anybody will buy a car without a brand name or a successful brand name. So a name and image is an essential part of the product. Not just technology. It has to have proper design, it has to have proper brand and a proper perception. But then it's very difficult to sell a car without providing proper after-sale service. Availability of spare parts, availability of technicians, we can provide after-sale service. It is also essential for a car to sell to have extensive distribution system. Well, nobody is going to go to Japan to buy a Japanese-made car. The car has to be available through appropriate distributors and display centers near the buyer. So it's part and parcel of that product. That after-sale service has to be provided. It has to be properly branded. It is also part of that product that a proper distribution system exists. Well, in today's time, the buyers also require financing. So cars will not successfully sell if appropriate financing is not available that buyers can buy and pay on installments. So car financing has become an essential component, and various car brand owners, car firms are working to tie up with financial institutions to provide financing to their buyers. So when we say a product car, a lot has been added to technology. A good design, good interior, a good brand name, good sales and support system, good financing, and together it has defined a complete product. So we should expand our definition of a product. And in today's competitive world, there is less of competition on the aspect of product that is added inside the factories during the production and R&D. More of the competition is taking place what is added to these products after the factories and outside these factories in terms of pricing, promotion, packaging, after sales support, financing, and so on and so forth. That's where the competition is these days. Really, there are many cars which are more or like the same in terms of the capacity, engine performance, reliability, quality. But then which brand succeeds? The one where the promotion is better, after-sales service is better, sales support is better, spare parts are properly, easily and cheaply available, where the distribution is extensive, where financing is cheaply provided. So marketers, especially international marketers, really need to understand this very wide definition of product, and in order to ensure that their product is successful, they need to make correct decisions, and in order to make correct decisions, they need a wide range of information to support those very diverse decisions in the area of product design, and product delivery. A very critical aspect about success of product is the user himself or herself. Their needs, their wants, their processes in which they purchase and consume the products. What are the factors which drive the preferences of users? The economic situations, the disposable incomes, the technological trends. which affects consumer decisions. So analysis of users is very, very important. The processes in which the users use the product. In many cases, while a product is being used, it creates other needs. If a firm is selling a dessert as its product, then consumers need to consume it using a spoon perhaps. So if they don't get a spoon, then there's a problem with the consumption. So complementary products are required. And if marketers knows this thing, then they can provide, along with the packaging of the dessert, a spoon to facilitate the consumption. Similarly, if a marketer is selling cars, then marketer realizes that the users need financing because it's a big ticket item. It's quite a lot of money. So it has to provide that financing also in order to make the users successfully purchase that product and use that product. So marketers really need to analyze the users very, very thoroughly, not just in terms of their needs and wants, but also in terms of their processes in purchasing an item and in consuming that item, so that the product seller, the brand owner or the marketer is able to deliver the product better than the competition can. Certain products have risks in their consumption. For example, there is a risk in consuming a car. If I buy a new car, there is a risk that it may be stolen. If marketer realizes that the user is feeling this risk when buying this product, then marketer can provide an additional feature in an automobile, a theft lock perhaps, a theft alarm perhaps, or a tracking system perhaps. And if a user, a buyer, finds that this car has an additional feature that saves me from this risk, then the preferences would be more for this product. Hence, it's very critical for marketers to analyze the users in the processes in which they buy and they consume various products. It is also essential to identify and analyze which are the end user industries. Buyers of OEM products and raw materials are themselves into business. They are themselves working hard to satisfy needs and wants of their own customers. So they want to become more efficient. They want to become more effective in satisfying needs of their own customers. So it is critical not only to understand needs and wants and perspectives of our buyers, but it's also important to understand the needs and wants and perspectives of their buyers. Because if we are able to help them satisfy their buyers, then perhaps they are going to buy more of our raw materials, more of our OEM products. So essential is not only to look towards our own buyers, but go beyond them, to look at the end users, because they are going to drive the demand in the industry, and the next members in the value chain who are our buyers will in fact be working to satisfy their end user customers. So to succeed in today's market, the sellers, the marketers really have to develop the capacity to not only know the immediate buyers, but who are the buyers down the value chain. So if the buyers down the value chain, at the end of the value chain, are really satisfied, it's only then the whole value chain will be successful. Again, it's important, and you may have studied in strategy subjects or marketing subject, the influence of various buyers and suppliers in the industry. It's very critical to understand that, because how much price or the rent one firm can extract depends on the power or influence that firm has in the value chain and the marketplace. And the firm has, in the marketplace, has to exist with competition, exist with the buyers, exist with the suppliers. So what influences they have, what powers they have, is very important information that marketers really need to have, and in order to make correct assessment about its own position, its own bargaining power, and of course decisions about various marketing aspects. The buyers also need to know about the characteristics of segments like age, gender, size of the segment, segment growth, and of course rates of those growth. These important essential elements that are needed in order to make decisions about the product. How much to invest into the product, how to price the product. If the segment is large and is growing rapidly, then marketer may plan to capture maximum market share and accordingly may set the price. If the market is mature or is declining, is not growing, then accordingly the marketer may decide to change the feature and attributes of the product in order to reduce its production cost and so forth. So, lot of information is needed about the segments, the characteristics, the age, the background, the demographics of the members of the segment. Marketers also need to know about the purchase intention of the buyer and their purchasing power. How much they can afford, what is the disposable income, how much they would be willing to spend in certain category of products, and what are their intentions, what is their stage of readiness. If they are far away from the stage of readiness, then maybe they need to be convinced first. So the marketer may choose to introduce their products, to provide trials of the products, may choose to educate the buyers about the benefits of the products and its relevance to their current lifestyles. But if the buyer is ready to buy, then perhaps it will be wasteful to provide information about the perspectives of the product. Maybe it may be more helpful to help the buyer execute the purchase, execute the sales. So, at what stage of readiness the buyer is, again, is very important to make crucial product decisions. Marketers also need to know how the target consumers or customers would respond to various price options and various features of the product. If a firm is to introduce a credit card, which is a very competitive market, and a credit card may have a lot of features. It has a fees, its benefits, its perks and privileges. Now, if the credit card firm which is to introduce new credit card decides to charge or not to charge a fees or how much to charge a fees, will affect the response of the target buyer and consumer. At the same time, what privileges come along with that credit card is also going to influence the purchase intention of the target buyer. But then changing fee structure or adding certain privileges involves costs, huge cost to firm. So firms must be very wise in choosing to make those costs, those investments, or reducing the revenues. So they need correct information as to how the target consumers, the users, would respond to various features and various attributes of the product. Marketers also need to know how consumers are going to respond to various promotions, various type of messages in advertisements in order to make those promotions and those advertisements successful. Advertisements in today's times are very, very costly. It costs a lot to get a good endorsement from a celebrity. It costs a lot to develop a good advertisement. And it costs even more to run that advertisement on a successful medium, a successful TV channel, or through a successful newspaper. So it's a very, very expensive proposition. So marketers need to know as a priori how consumers are going to respond to various offers, various promotions, various contextual aspects, or various ways in which information can be provided. And we have seen also that consumers are also affected by the role of price, cost in purchasing, and credit. In big ticket items especially, financing is absolutely critical for their success in selling. But now it's trickling down to even small ticket items, household items. Increasingly, we are seeing that firms are providing financing and installment opportunities for selling cheaper household items that are not very costly. We are seeing now in our market, and of course in many world markets, the firms which are very successful in selling furniture, in household appliances, not that they are good retailers or not that they are selling the best brands, but because they are providing financing installments in a very, very creative way. Another aspect from the perspective of product that's crucial is to be able to understand the future needs. Successful firms have to ensure that they are able to introduce new innovative products at a required pace at least. And not every new product is successful. In fact, in certain industries, the success rate is very, very poor. So firms have to really introduce many new products to achieve few successes. But for a firm, for a brand to remain evergreen, ever successful, it must be able to introduce new products. And successful new products are the ones which really fulfill the emerging needs, future needs, better than competition. So marketers really need to first understand what are the future needs which might emerge, which may remain unfulfilled, and to design and to prepare products and develop products beforehand. By the time that need emerges, the marketer is also ready with that sort of product. So the timing ought to be correct and better than competition. In terms of product, especially those cultural products, the impact of culture and societies can be very enormous. And culture may vary from country to country. And for a certain product, if marketer is selling in many countries, then it is very, very critical for marketer to be able to assess and evaluate impacts of various cultures, various differences in cultures on the prospects of product. So we have seen that from the perspective of product, enormous amount of information is critically required for marketers on a continuous basis. Information is also required essentially on other aspects of marketing mix. Product is just one of the 4 critical aspects of a marketing mix. Another important area in marketing mix is the channel of distribution, the place of distribution. So marketers need on continuous basis information about the channel of distribution. They need to know which channels are emerging, which channels are going to perform better, and how various channels link with the emerging needs of the buyers. In the last 10-15 years, we have seen that the online channel through internet has become very, very successful for certain categories of products and not so successful for many other categories of the products. The buyers now have computers in their homes, in their offices. They're surfing internet on increasing speed, in increasing number, and many buyers have become experienced buyers on net. And many firms are selling their products on net. Many banks are now moving towards providing financial services on internet. So it's emerged as a powerful new channel, which has really redefined the way things are sold. Because internet, like advertising, is not only targeting mass market, but it is targeting mass market often very cheaply, at much less cost. At the same time, internet is able to achieve the interactivity of direct selling, as if the salesperson has gone and directly engaged the target prospect. So internet has really revolutionized. It is providing the benefits of not only mass marketing channels, it is also providing benefits of interactive channels. And if firms are able to create creatively their websites, then the cost of that medium is pretty low. Marketers also need information about pricing and price elasticity to demand, that how price works, how various categories of products are affected by price changes. Certain items or certain category of products are called essential products, and any price increase may not reduce their consumption too much. Well, many other products are luxury products, can be very elastic to price, and any changes in price may substantially change the demand in the marketplace. But that may not remain consistent from market to market. That situation, the price relationship to demand, is likely to change from market to market. So international marketers really to understand and know this relationship in all markets they are operating. Marketers also need information about advertising, promotion, the way people make their choices, the way people relate themselves to various mediums, and what role these advertising and these mediums play in the lives of people, and how people view certain channels. Well, it can be a situation where people may have very strong relationship with media, or they may have very weak relationship with media in certain markets, or they may view certain channels or certain mediums very positively, while they may view very negatively some other channels, some other mediums. In some markets, people read more. In other markets, people watch TV more than they read. So accordingly, the marketers really need to know in which market, how the channels operate, what is the relationship between channel and the people, and how it is going to impact the advertising and promotion if these channels are used. Marketers also need to know information about the service quality standards, because there is a part of expectation of people, and we had discussed earlier in our lectures that consumers are satisfied when their expectations are fulfilled, and these expectations vary from market to market. In certain sophisticated market, people's expectation about service and after sales service and sales support is high. In advanced countries, even if simple consumer items are to be sold, the consumers require comprehensive information, after sales support, and they will not buy such products which are not backed up by after sales support. Well, in developing countries, more of the time, that is not what is required. The consumer may not be even willing to pay for it. So, there is no point in incurring very high service costs in such markets. There is no demand and appreciation for such service and after sales support. So, what a marketer really must offer in a market must be relevant to the expectations of the people or the target customers within that market. And that perspective may change, because not all markets are equally sophisticated, not all markets are equally experienced, not all markets have similar expectations from sellers and marketers. So this is the type of information about each market which a marketer has to gather and accordingly adapt his marketing strategies in those international markets. Well, no product will sell without proper logistics and distribution. There can be many successful products, but they could not be sold successfully because they could not be properly distributed. And in many cases, distribution and logistics is the major chunk of the product manufacturing and delivery and marketing costs. Especially in case of convenience goods. The buyers will only buy such goods when they are conveniently available. So the brands and the markets have to ensure that their goods, if they are in the convenience category, are delivered appropriately. And if the goods come in the shopping category, that's where buyer want to compare. Like we want to compare when we are buying shoes, we want to compare when we are buying fashion items. We don't buy from convenience stores, but we want to go to shopping malls, shopping areas, into markets where there are many shops, many outlets selling similar items, and then we can compare, and then we can make our choice. So if a product is not distributed through channels which take these products to shopping areas, to shopping malls, to shopping districts, to market areas, then these products will not sell. Then third type of goods are specialty goods. They have to be sold through specialty channels. The channels really need to have a competence in order to support the sales of those goods. If a pharmaceutical products, it has to sell through pharmacies, because specialist pharmacists then will help to explain that product to consumers. Similarly, there are many technology products which cannot really sell until and unless there is a competence in the distribution channel to push and to move that product. So really it is very important for marketers to have appropriate information about the distribution channel. So their level of competence, their expertise and competence in delivering service in order to choose an appropriate channel for distribution. Marketers not only need information about outsiders all the time, they also essentially need information about their own firm and its own performance and historical performance in various markets, various situations. Researchers and scholars have found out that firms move on a pathway. the firms are capable to only do certain things, they're not capable to do other things. And history can teach what they have been able to do, what they have not been able to do. So a manager can learn from the history of his own firm as to what type of technologies can be adopted, what type of products can be created, what type of selling and promotional programs can be successfully adopted in a firm. So every firm is following what we call is a trajectory, is a pathway. So for marketers, it is also critical to have comprehensive information about their own firms and its own history. The sales trends of its various products, its product lines, the performance of its sales force, how it has been performing, how the firm's own customers have been acting and performing over time. So historical information in these areas about the firms and its performance is going to help managers to make future decisions. Because every firm is moving on its own trajectory, on pathway. It will be very difficult for a firm to do entirely new things successfully. It will be constrained by its successes and failures in the history of the firm. It also helps marketers to make future decisions when they are able to know the trends the firm has been facing in various countries and various regions. Historical sales trends, preference trends, price trends can help to make future decisions. It is also important for marketers to know about the contribution margin the firm has been able to achieve in various markets, because the value to the firm is coming through its own contribution margins. The difference between its fixed cost, variable cost and the selling price is very, very crucial here. It is very important for a marketer to know how much a product gives over and above its variable cost in terms of its contribution margin, so that it can decide the break-even volume. So the costs vary in various markets, and also the prices vary in various markets. And firms' capacity to achieve various contribution margins in various markets will help managers to decide future course of action in terms of prices and costing. For marketer, it is very critical to know information about the historical performance of the firm in all marketing mix aspects. How the firm has been able to promote and market its products, and how people have been responding to those marketing functions across countries and regions. How the firm has been able to create products, how the firm has been able to deliver the products. These are critical information which marketer needs in order to make future decisions. So in today's lecture, we went into rather more detail in certain crucial areas as to what sort of information the marketers may require to make successful marketing decisions. We will continue deliberating on this topic in future. Thank you for being with us today. Allah Hafiz.